Guys, do we hear this rumbling, this sort of clacking? I'm pretty sure that's the timing chain, guys. Hey guys, I'm the 50s Kid. Welcome back to the E53 project. This is it. This is the big job. We're going to do the timing chain guide replacement in this video series. Not sure how many parts I'm going to make it. 2, maybe 3. If you have, this vehicle has the M62TU engine in it, and if you have one of these engines, after about 125,000 miles, the thing becomes a ticking time bomb and the timing chain guides are gonna fail. Every one of these engines is gonna need this job done, so we're gonna do it in this video series. So let's get started. All right, you must be saying, Jason, what the hell? I thought you were gonna shoot the whole disassembly on this job. And of course I shot it, of course I did. But the problem is it all looks like this, with this stupid flickering. And it's all caused by this stupid light that I use on the dimming mode, which must, I don't know, for some reason doesn't jive with my camera. And the thing that kills me is I remember this problem and I remember how to solve it. Check this out. There, problem solved. All I have to do is set the shutter speed manually to 50 frames a second on my camera and the problem is solved, but I totally forgot about this. Like it was just, I hadn't shot videos in a couple years and this kind of knowledge just left my brain. So unfortunately, I think I have to reshoot this whole job all over again, but that's okay. I think I can do it better this time. So let me just go ahead and reshoot it. Ah, there we go. That's better. Now let's get started. In order to do this job, you are going to need a set of these timing tools. Now, I had problems with this kit the last time I used it. You'll notice this pin right here. The bore on my vehicle, basically this was too thick to go in. So I actually had to grind this down on the bench grinder, and I didn't do a very good job because this little guy was getting in the way. So I had to sort of do it by hand. My first thought was to use a drill and spin it evenly so I can get it, evenly machined down, but couldn't do that. This little arm kept hitting stuff, so I ground it down by hand. That's not a good sign. And there's a thing about this timing kit. These tools are the most important part of this kit. They are what locate the timing cog. And apparently these tools are a little bit inaccurate. Some people have reported having problems with them. So because of that, they make this kit. This is made by German Auto Solutions. And basically German Auto Solutions is an American company that sort of re-engineers things like this, timing tools and whatnot. So they completely re-engineered this system, and this is the replacement basically for these tools right here. So they sell just these for about $100. I went ahead and bought the whole kit because of this pin situation. I didn't have any confidence in this kit. After I encountered this pin situation, I figured these tools are going to be inaccurate as well. So I just bought the whole kit. But there's one thing I'm kind of bummed about. It came with this little warning saying, warning, the TDC lock pin included is not to be used to hold the crankshaft from turning. The pin will bend, which I'm not happy about because basically I do use this pin to hold the crankshaft, or at least I used this pin to hold the crankshaft in place when I broke it loose with a big breaker bar with a cheater bar on it. So this one did not bend. This one was okay. Again, I had to machine this part down, but this part did not bend. They're saying that this part will bend and not to use it, and they actually do make a separate tool for this, not this company, but a separate tool is made for holding the crankshaft into place. I'll try to throw a picture of it up on the screen. And I guess, if they make that tool, maybe they mean that you're not even supposed to use this pin to do it, but I did use it and it worked just fine. My point is, I think probably most people are going to get this kit. And if you do get this kit and you find it's inaccurate, you can add on these pieces just from the German Auto Solutions kit. But what we're going to do in this video is we're actually going to compare, not this video, probably the next one, we're going to compare this timing set to this timing set. If we can time the engine using these and then slip this tool on without making any adjustments, these tools were unnecessary, okay? These tools would have been just fine. So we're going to find that out. If they're completely interchangeable, great. Then we'll put this controversy to bed. If not, these are probably going to be necessary. A lot of parts are necessary on this job, guys, and these were all provided by my longtime sponsor, OEMBimmerparts.com. let's go through them. So over here, we've got our valve cover gasket sets. You need 2 of these, along with the grommets, okay? This is a front crankshaft seal. These are the gaskets for the timing covers. These would be for the upper timing covers. This is for the lower timing cover. These are the chains for the secondary timing chains, along with the secondary timing chain guides. And this up here is a water pump gasket set. So that's the main water pump. This is for the thermostat. And these other O-rings are for the water pipes, the crossover pipes on either end. These little green O-rings are for the cam sensors. And these are the VANOS solenoid gaskets. And this is an alternator O-ring. And this is the main timing set right here, main timing kit. You got your main chain, you got 3 guides. Now this big U-shaped one is the one that breaks apart first. So this is the culprit right here. So you got 3 timing chain guides, and then you have a new timing chain tensioner. Very important you change that as well. So that's what comes in the kit. And again, all of these parts were provided by OEMBemberparts.com, so check them out if you need to get you a set of all of this. And here are some additional parts that I'm going to elect to change. I've got all of the coolant hoses, spark plugs. It's a good time to change your spark plugs if you've never changed them. By the time you're doing this timing chain job, time to change your spark plugs. This pulley, I happen to know that I need 1 pulley because one of them's bad. The other pulley set, the other hydraulic pulley set is actually okay. It's been recently replaced. So I only need this one, which is for the air conditioning belt idler. So I was able to buy just the pulley on that, and that is the part number, the INA part number for it. And power steering pump. I'm pretty sure that I need a new power steering pump on this vehicle. I was hearing some vibrations for quite a while. I remember it from years ago. I'm putting in a new, a rebuilt, I think it's a rebuilt, power steering pump, just to, for peace of mind. Other things you might need, depending on your situation, is a water pump. And if you do need a new water pump, if yours hasn't been changed in a while, you buy the water pump. It should come with the whole gasket set, so you don't need to buy that separate. Another thing you might need are belts. If you haven't changed yours forever, you get them off and they're all cracked. Time to change your belts, so you might want to grab some of those. Again, it depends on your situation. And finally, you might need the lower oil pan gasket if your timing chain is so bad it's disintegrated and crumbled into pieces, and those pieces are down in the oil pan. Most likely they would have been washed down into the lower oil pan. You need to drop it and get it all cleaned out, and you'll need a new lower oil pan gasket to put it back together. You're also going to need a nice big area to put all your parts when you take them off the car. So battery disconnection on this car is fairly easy. You just pull the spare tire out, and if you have the air suspension, you're going to have an air compressor in this thing here. There's 2 nuts on the front right here, 13 mil, and then 2 bolts in the back. And you just kind of lift this thing up and put it off to the side. Then a 10 mil on the battery terminal. Just loosen it. Negative battery terminal, and disconnect that sucker. So if you close your trunk right now, you're actually going to lock yourself out, and the only way to get it open is to jump the battery terminals in the engine compartment. So one trick you do is use a screwdriver to close the latch like this, and that way when you close the trunk, it won't lock. All right, we have the battery unplugged. Let's just start disassembling some stuff here. So you're gonna have 4 of these little pop rivet bolts. I just kind of use a little dike to get those off. I don't think we're supposed to call it that anymore. Side cutters. Over here, there's a 10 millimeter. Pulling that guy on. This cover will come off. These are just quarter turns. I think it's probably a 4 millimeter, something like that. I didn't put it back on. There was no need to really tighten all those down. Now there will be a little clamp down here. And what is this tool anyway? This is a 6 millimeter like flexible nut driver that I have. I love this thing. I use this just for getting off just for getting loose those ring clamps basically. Down here on the air box, there's one of these. You just pinch it on either side, this side or that side, and it comes off. This one never kind of stays on, so I can just pull it like that. Up here, we have the mass airflow sensor connector. That should come off. Let's see, this should, at this point, pull off. Yeah. You can lift this out of here. And as you see, we've got some connectors down here. Again, more pinch and pull. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this with one hand. Ooh, look at that, I did it. And then this was just a vacuum line that kind of pulls off from under here. So at this point, this whole thing should come out of here, yeah. Now, we're gonna take this little plastic thing off. 2 10s at either side. I'm gonna take this off. The reason is because these ears right here really get in the way, especially when taking out, even when taking out the shroud right here, taking out, I mean, they're just, when you're reaching around them, you're gonna irritate yourself on those. Just get it out of here. Comes right out. Guys, I typically am leaving the bolts with the part. Just, it's a good idea because, you know, as you take off, there's so many parts to take off. If you just start that little trick of lining your bolts up on your magnetic tray, which I do for small jobs, I kind of line them up in a clockwise pattern, and then I work backwards when I'm putting everything back together. That works for small jobs, but for a huge job like this, there's too many bolts and you're just kind of gonna lose track. So what I do is I put the bolt with the part, and if you're nervous about the bolts falling out, put some tape over it and then it won't fall out. Takes 2 seconds to put a piece of tape. The shroud is held on by these little push pin fasteners. I only put the one on because we don't need to see all of them. But that just comes out. You need fan wrench tools like this. You can get those off eBay. 36 millimeter. Is that right? 36? No, I'm wrong. 32. What am I thinking? So this will hold on to the water pump nut, just kind of like that. And then it's left-hand thread. So to loosen it, you go righty, like that. And I don't typically put these fans on super tight because it's always, you know, it comes off the opposite way that the fan spins when the engine's on. I get them tight, but not too tight. Spin that guy off, he's off. There is a connector for this air quality sensor. This sensor is supposed to stay on this shroud, but this is an aftermarket shroud, so it never stays in, so I just kind of leave it on there. And then the connector kind of over here, I just unhook it from the shroud. Easy enough to figure out. Pull that shroud out along with the fan. So like I said, I'm redoing the job, but that doesn't mean I can't intercut some of the older footage to kind of show you what some things were like. This is the point when you want to actually drain the radiator, drain the oil, and take the lower cover plate off of the down below, both splash plates. There's a plastic splash plate and an aluminum sort of stiffening plate underneath the engine. You're going to need to drop both of those. You're also going to need to unbolt the oil dipstick tube down there. So let's go down below and do all of those things. In order to drain the coolant, we're going to remove this plastic splash shield. It's just a series of 8 and 10 millimeter fasteners. While we're under the car, we're going to do everything we need to do down here, which includes draining the engine oil, which I did not get a shot of, removing the lower reinforcement plate, and then removing the nut and bracket that's holding on the oil dipstick tube. Best way to drain the cooling system is to start at the very bottom, which appears to be the transmission cooler. This is going to be held on by a little clip. I'm going to just reach in and pop it up, and I'll get a better shot of it once this is out of the way. All right, I hope I'm not wearing coolant tonight. That is just the start. I'm gonna go take the drain cap off. So that clip I was talking about was right down here. It's this thing that I've got my finger on right here that I just pushed down. Again, that's basically the clip that that you need to pull up. In order to get that locking pin into the flex plate, we're going to need to take this cover plate off. To do that, you slip a 16 millimeter wrench up over top of each bolt so you can counter hold the nut. Go. All right, guys, super difficult to get this shot here. The oil dipstick tube comes down, connects to the front of the oil pan. Front of the car is this way, rear of the car is this way. So it's over here on the passenger side, and the bolt is in the back of right where it connects to. And the only way I can get at it, I mean, there's no way to get through the subframe right here. It's all covered. There's, you know, a big metal plate right here. The only way is to reach up through here and get over top of it. Oh, okay, right there. Oh, if I can only hold it. Oh, man. Whew. Ooh, I'm getting it. Oh, yay. Yeah, it's off, wherever it is. Cool. It's inside the socket. So yeah, little nut. Little nut. And the one thing that I didn't get a shot of under there when I was doing the oil pan bolt is this little bracket. This sits on top of the oil pan bolt. This is what that nut was holding in. You got to reach over top with the magnet and get on it and pull it out and up and off. So you make sure you get that out because you're not going to get the oil dipstick tube out without doing that. Now, this is totally optional, but I'm going to do this just to make filming easier. I'm actually going to remove the windshield washer reservoir as well as the coolant reservoir. You can do the job with those things in there, but it's just going to be easier to film when I take them out. So I've already unhooked and unbolted all this stuff, so I'm just going to pull that guy right out of there. Incidentally, it's just two little plastic fasteners over here. A couple of things. Best to make sure that your washer fluid is empty. If it's not empty before you do the whole job, just come in here and pull out one of these. Pull that out and everything will drain out. Do it out on your street. It's just, you know, it's just water with a little soap on it, so no harm. And kind of get that out of the way. And then it'll make it a lot easier when you want to get that out. So with here, we've just got a couple of coolant hoses. Really nice having everything just drained out. I did not get a new one of these just because it's a pain in the butt to kind of get it out of there. So we have this. You see how this snaps? It snapped before. This is a piece of replacement line right here. I do have a new one of these, so not upset about that. Getting that out of there. Let's see, I saw one more down over here. Pull that up. And 10s. Whoa, who turned that on Titan? Here, a little level sensor. What else? What else? I think it's just popped in like that. There we go. In this case, I think we can put these bolts back where they went. Just helps us keep track of everything like that. Now this hose is going to be kind of in the way, so I'll just tuck it right there. Next, we're going to get this black plastic thing out of there. Now this thing needs just turn. You got to get this out of there. I did not refasten it in. No point in doing that. You need to take out this rubber right here. Take that out. 13s. This is a little plastic bracket that you could take out. Now this should just come on out. Actually, these little side things, you're going to need to pull them out. The way you do that is you push this down and those will come out. on both sides. And now this just slides out. We already have so much more room, don't we? Very, very nice. I'd like to take a minute to thank this week's sponsor, OEMBimmerparts.com. Whether it comes to the E53 or the E70 X5 series, or the 3 Series E46, or even more modern cars such as the E90 and the F30, this site has all of the most popular parts that you're going to need for the most common repairs. I love the way that it's organized into a few major sections, and these sections are not overrun by a million Chinese sellers with their crappy stuff that you have to scroll through forever to find what you need. It's just the OEM brands of the most popular parts at great prices, and they have fast 2-day shipping as well. If you're in the market for BMW parts, please check out OEMBimmerparts.com. Now, one more thing that we're going to get out is the radiator. Not absolutely required, again, not required, but to me, I think it makes the job just a little bit easier. These are T25s over here, 2 of them. All we really have to do is disconnect some more of the coolant hoses. So let me show you some close up which ones you got to do. Upper hose first, we've got this little thing right here. And we've got this one right here. And we've got one down in here, which I'm going to obscure for the moment, and then I'll get you a shot if we can see it. That guy right down there that connects right above the water-cooled alternator, that's what feeds coolant to it. Incidentally, there's no exit for that coolant, which is kind of odd. On this vehicle, it's blocked off. I don't know exactly why that is. Probably on other vehicles, it's not blocked off so that coolant can circulate through there. On this vehicle, I think the coolant just goes in there. It's very strange. There's another one over here. So this one is tricky. There's 2 little things you can pull out. You don't want to pull out this one right here. You want to pull out the one on this side here, the one on the side. So pull that up and pull that off. Now, I'm making it look really easy because these hoses have been off, but if you've never had this hose off, what you might actually have to do is put that piece back on that was holding this radiator in place, because what you're going to have to do is yank on this thing a lot. And what you might have to do is, what I find helpful is to just sort of wiggle it like this, and that helps to start like working the O-ring off. Okay, and finally it'll get off. You see the O-ring that's in there right there? That is what we have to, that's going to be like frozen on this black plastic right here, and that's what you kind of have to get loose. And you could try spraying some silicone spray in there, but I doubt that it's going to get past this little depression right here. You know, this is a nice little cavity for the silicone spray to fall down in. So you might not find any other way to do this other than just yanking it, pulling on it. You might find a pry bar, stick it in between here and kind of pry out. Don't damage the radiator when you do that. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult, but that is what you have to do. This one, again, you can get that out. You know, the engine's where it is. You got to pry somehow, get that out of there. Get this out. It's loose. It's loose here. It's loose there. Pull the lower hose from the top of the radiator. Big spidery guy comes out. Now you just have 2 more hoses connecting you to the engine. You have this lower radiator hose. It's going to be real difficult to pull it out of the radiator from down there. You just can't get your hand on it. There's a sensor down here. You see it? I got to push that guy in and pull it out. So all I did was push that wire in and pull it out. I don't pull it out from down there. It's probably better, best, easiest to pull it from the top of the water, the thermostat right here. That's the water pump. This is the thermostat. So we will get the little clip off, get the little clip loose like that. And there's going to be another hose underneath this once we get it off. As far as prying goes, you notice how there's a connector sort of in your way right here. Get the connector off for the, probably it's a temperature sensor. This probably is your prying point right here. Okay? And you can sort of pry like that while jiggling with your other hand. Jiggling in that way, in that circular motion I told you, and you can sort of pry and get it off. That would be my recommendation. Okay, now we have this one more hose down here, and it's connected to the bottom of the water pump, basically. So this is the best shot that I can get you. Get in there, pop it free, which I did. And then get down there and pull it out. Now this one, of course, comes out real easy because, again, it's been out, but you might have a difficult time of that. Try your best. If you have to, cut it out. If you're replacing it, just cut it right here. Much easier to get the halves out. And that is always an option for this hose as well. Much easier to get it off once you have the water pump out. But now, this whole radiator will come free. Let's see if I'm a liar. I think the trick is to move this end out a little, and that allows you to get it out. It will spill everywhere. This will happen. It's not a clean job, but it is this time because I have absolutely no coolant in this thing, which is just fabulous. All right, guys, let's talk about plan of attack for this job now that we got everything out of our way. Start at the top and work your way to the front, and that's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the timing covers off, the valve covers off, and in order to do that, you actually need to get these electronics boxes that for the fuel injectors. This has all the fuel injector wiring in it, and they're connected to the fuel injectors, and they have these little metal pins that you kind of got to pull out of the way. It is technically, it's possible on this side to do it as you see it. And it's possible to do the front three if you kind of know what you're doing. The back one is very, very obscured. The easiest way to actually do this is to pop the whole fuel rail up, and that way you can actually get under it from underneath. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll be able to get those off and kind of get them out of the way. Then you'll have access to take out these covers. I know it looks like we have room here, and we kind of do on this one. There's a way to get this one out because there's, you know, not a lot of obstructions here. It'll be more difficult to get this back in, to be honest with you. Over here, the real problem is these 4 hoses in the corner. They're too much in the way, and you do not have enough clearance to get this cover up, out, and out of the hole, out of there. So what you really need to do is take these black boxes off. So that is where we're going to start, and then we're going to move to the front of the engine, get all the accessories off, get the oil dipstick tube out of there, get the timing covers out, and we're good to go. All right, we're going to start by taking off these brackets that held the engine cover on. They actually double as the fuel rail connectors as well, or fuel rail bolts. 10 millimeters. Almost everything on this engine is a 10 millimeter, which is kind of nice. So this one will come out like that. And then there's a 5th bolt. Now, there are 4 10 millimeter bolts here, 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 and here that are holding the electrical boxes to the fuel rail. We're going to need to take those off because, of course, we want to separate the electrical boxes away from the fuel rail. They're holding on some devices, some brackets right here. So there's a solenoid here and a bracket that's holding a vacuum canister here. This is all for the secondary air injection system. So we're just going to get that all loose. Now, it'll be more convenient to kind of pull this yellow line apart from the solenoid. So what you do is get yourself some silicone spray. That's your best friend for getting vacuum lines loose. Spray it like that. Take a little pick and kind of dig in and kind of get underneath it and pull it back. Sometimes in order to get those off, what you might need to do is slip your pick in and sort of run it around. Once you get it sort of halfway around, you'll get it broken free. The silicone spray will get in there, it'll get loose, and you'll be able to pop it off. There is a washer on this back one, so make sure you get the washer as well. There's no washer on this back one because there's a bracket that acts as a washer. So that bracket is just clipped on there. And these parts I'm storing on my tray because I'll remember what they go to. Kind of inconvenient to store these with them. Actually, you could leave the nuts on here once you get the brackets off. because it's like a half cutout on the electrical rail. So you could actually leave those nuts on there. That'd be convenient. Let's see. Vacuum canister. Let's unclip it. And is it convenient to take it out of here right now? Maybe not at the moment. I'm going to leave it where it is. This solenoid can come out. This blue line, let me show you where it's connected to. That blue line is connected to a vacuum valve for the secondary air pump, which is down here. So again, I did that same trick on this before, and that's how I got that loose, you know, the silicone spray and the pick. This little tip is actually pretty deteriorated, so I think I'm going to cut it back to right here because this is still nice and pliable there. So now we can get this little solenoid out. Let's spend some time disconnecting. This is the connector for the cam sensor, one on each side. Those cam sensors are the same left and right. This connector, what does that go to? I don't know. Oh, it might go to the NOx sensors down below. Can't be sure on that, but we'll get those disconnected as well. So now you see this box, there's nothing else really connected to it other than, of course, all the wiring and everything. So we'll work on that in a little bit, but let's get this fuel rail popped up. Now, before we can get the electrical boxes out, of course, there are the connectors that go to the coils. So we got to get those loose. And you see, I already took the covers off. I only left this one on so I can show you how to get it. It should be is on the bottom in the middle. There's a little area where you can get under and pry it loose. 10 millimeters. There we go. These just lift up here, pull those out. So I'm gonna do these ones. I only bolted the coils in on the front because again, there was no point in bolting them all back in. So now that's loose. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I think I'm gonna do that off camera because same thing. Okay, now we should be able to pop this out like this, and it is just that easy to sort of get it out of there. I found that my injectors were really not that frozen down on there. My injector O-rings were not frozen down on there at all. It was very easy to pop it up and off. So now we have this thing up and free, and we can actually see underneath in order to get these clips. Let me give you a view of that. All right, guys, there are the clips in question. Now what you need to do, let me see if I can kind of slip this out so you can see better. Get you just the right angle here. What you need to do is get your pick and flick the top of this down like that, and then down the side. At least down into this little hole right there. I mean, kind of as low as you can go is what's helpful. That's what, let's see if you can see that. That's what I like to do. Slip them down like that, and then you can just pop these right out. Now, I suppose it is possible to just, you know, get a pry bar and kind of pop this rail off. I've heard of some people doing that, but maybe that's on like a newer one where the plastic was a lot newer. This plastic is quite brittle, and I don't want to chance that. So as you can see, I can see underneath finally, and I can just slip my pick under here. Sorry, I know I'm jostling you. Slip my pick under here and pull these down. Hopefully, just don't let the pin go flying. So that's why I like to pull it down sort of halfway. And I just do that for all four. Again, it's possible from above to do the three. Now that you know what that looks like, you can do it from above. That fourth one is just impossible. I mean, that fourth one, you really cannot even see it down in there. I've never been able to really spy it very well. I mean, I can spy the third one in between there. think I can, maybe we can see the third one right there. The fourth one though, it's just totally obscured. There's really no, you can't really see it. Very, very difficult. So, but you can see it from underneath. All right, let me try to get these loose. There. Now this should just pop right off. Hey, there we go. As you see, we just have this one little cable, and that runs down to the voltage regulator on the water-cooled alternator, which, as you see, I broke, sadly. Not sure if that can be repaired yet. I'll know when I get it out, but that will just come right out. I don't know if it's routed behind all these cables and stuff. This is just the way I put it when I put it back together. Seemed logical, but now it's seeming like a pain in the butt. It's always fun when you lose audio. Anyway, you guys missed when I took these bolts out just now. They're just 10s. There's 3 in the front. Those look like this. Try to get these rubber grommets out with it. I think they'll definitely come out with these ones because they're kind of trapped on the ends here. Those rubbers will come out. And then there's 4 across the top and 4 across the bottom. And those ones will be, the rubber is going to be stuck on there. The actual washers will be stuck on there as well. Let me show you that. So on the top, you're going to have these. It's going to be this middle bolt. Looks like that. And there's going to be a washer and a grommet. So the washer is on top of the grommet, and what's going to happen is those are going to be stuck right to the case. The washer is going to be stuck, everything. So get a pick and get those out of there because you don't want them dropping all over the place. You definitely need the metal washer. You're replacing the rubber grommet. This line, this is the alternator line that goes down, and it actually has slack up here, so you can just kind of pull it up like that. So that's pretty cool. And at this point, we basically should be ready to get the valve cover off. Now, this is where the fun part begins. It was really hard to get these off. These things will be frozen into place. The way I did it was I took my pry bar and I went in where this rubber gasket is and I just shoved it in. And I just started to kind of pry, and it was difficult. It was like prying really hard. And then I kind of got down in this way. Again, it was stuck on real bad. I had to kind of, you know, it's really hard. Took a lot of effort, took a lot of work. It still wasn't breaking free on the bottom. I had to slip this further down here and then finally pop. The thing finally popped and came off. So fun stuff. But now this will just kind of lift up and get out of here. This we should be able to put down like here, right here. Let's pull this up and off. This just has a little rubber grommet that pulls off of this bracket here. So we can put this down here and get this up and off. Even now it's difficult. See what I mean? That stuff is just in the way. Oh wait, jeez. Why does it need to be so hard? All right, we should have a better view from this side. And not absolutely necessary to take these ones out. In fact, I will kind of show you. Well, no, I just want to take these out. You don't have to. You can just hold the fuel rail up and get everything out, but it is easier if it's out of there. If you find that it's not really coming off, it's because your little clips are not down far enough. Come on, baby. Probably the case on this one. Yeah, I can see it's a little high. This guy's just being stubborn. There. So the problem with this one is there's a connector or a wire coming off the back going down to the bottom of the engine, and there's all these wires going to all the components on the front of the engine. So kind of best to unplug those. We need to unplug them from the front anyway, but there are a couple that we just can't get off no matter what. Let me just show you. So I can unbolt the VANOS solenoids. we already unbolted the cam sensor. We have the throttle position sensor right here. Well, it's actually just the throttle motor, isn't it? Boom. We have another coolant sensor here. And then we have the other VANOS solenoid over here. Oops, sorry. That was the VANOS solenoid right here. It's clipped into a little clip here. See that? Clipped into a little clip. That comes apart. Let's see, what else? Let's take the oil dipstick tube out. And we are in a little clip. Now this little connector broke off. I think it's usually connected right in there. So you can just lift it open without breaking yours. And we have one more, one that runs all the way over here to the evap solenoid. That's in a little clip as well. See, that runs back behind here. This one's pretty distinctive. It's really, really long. So when you're figuring out where it goes in the back all the way underneath everything. I know it seems like a little bit of a puzzle, but it's pretty straightforward. Boom. So we have everything, but now you notice we have these two. These two are running down underneath the engine, and they're definitely running to the starter and the oil pressure sensor. I don't really feel like taking them out. There's kind of really no need. There should be enough room. Should be enough room to just sort of get this back up like this, hold it there. You'll have enough room to take the valve cover off and put it back on without any much of a problem. So that's what I'm gonna do. Pull that out along with the rubber grommet. I think I left these in the case last time, so they're still a little stuck in. Boom, now they're out. So 3 along the front and 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. Looks like I left these grommets on. I never took these ones off, so I will refrain for the moment. Of course, get your coils out. Looks like I left the 2 bolts. Incidentally, I did find oil over here in the back 2 cylinders, which signifies that the inner valve cover gasket was leaking. And again, pry bar under here, pop it loose, struggle, it'll pop free. Hey, and we're out. Now we are also going to need to take these oilers off the top, these oil rails, because we're going to need to be able to get on the camshaft and hold it. Flats back here and right here. So in order to get your wrench on and hold that while you're torquing the bolts on the front of the cam, you need to be able to hold it with a wrench. So we need to get these oil rails off. Pretty easy. Notice I've been holding this tool in an angle. Once I got the bolts off, I could just see I needed to do it at an angle. All right, now you have room to slip your wrench on there and just hold it while you're torquing bolts. Should be no problem. Same for the top here. Boom. All right, guys, the reason we pulled off the valve covers first was because we needed to see which way the camshafts were pointing on number 1 cylinder, which is this one right here. You want the camshafts to be pointing upwards and like pointing toward one another, just like this, so that they're kind of, the lobes are pointing like this. That's how you know you're at top dead center on cylinder number 1, or very near it. Now we can go ahead and actually lock the crankshaft into place by using that crank pin, and then we can break the crank pulley loose. Now let's first get the belts out of here. We don't need those in there anymore. I suggest you take a picture of your belt routing diagram. It is less than intuitive when you're putting it back together. Basically, we need to loosen these two bolts right here. This outer one, that's not a bolt. That's just some wrench flats for you to use to compress the piston down when you're tightening it back up. But the actual bolts are here and here. They're 13s. Just get them loose for now. See, it popped up. Now this is loose. We can get the belt off. Need two hands. Okay, take your belt and flip it upside down and go like that. If you see a bunch of cracks right here, your belt needs to be replaced. We did replace these not too long ago, so they're still good. Now, to get the air conditioner pulley off, you actually have to take this little cover off. Use a screwdriver to pop the cover off, grab it in your hand, and it should be a I think it's a T50, or is it a T55? We're gonna find out. This is a little loose. No, it's a T50. Make sure that it goes all the way in, and then turn it downward to loosen it, and you can just slip the belt right off. I think I make this mistake almost every time I do one of these belts or film this sequence, but I skipped a step. The first step is, before you take the belt off, you want to loosen these bolts on the water pump pulley. Of course, these are somewhat loose, so I'm not going to have a problem here, but you need the friction from the belt in order to break these loose most of the time. Here, this is going to be good enough. Get your pulley out the way. Next, let's go ahead and get the tensioner off. It's going to be that same T50 over here. Again, make sure it's all the way in there, and don't tighten it, loosen it. Make sure it's all the way in there. This one, there should be a cover here as well. It's gone missing. I'll find it before I put the whole thing back together. But we're just gonna loosen that guy. That should come out now. So that's the main bolt for it. And we had our two 13s. This one is longer. Of course, this one's shorter. Hopefully that part's rather obvious. And just so you can see, this one and this one, they're good pulleys still. They don't spin and idle forever when you spin them. However, that's a bad pulley. That's how you know. When it sounds like a skateboard, bad pulley. So that's the one I bought. That's the one we'll change. So you see how there's an OT mark right there? And you see how behind it there is a little mark on the crankcase right there? That is kind of sort of where you need to be. Somewhere in that ballpark when you're on top dead center. I think the crankshaft might have moved just a little bit. So when we go underneath the car to slip the pin in the timing chain, we know we're sort of near. So what we're gonna do, we'll slip a 27mm deep socket on a breaker bar right onto the crank pulley, and we'll use the breaker bar to kind of turn it back and forth into place. We know we're right in the general area. All we have to do is just sort of turn it a little bit while we're trying to slip the crank pin in, and it should go right in. So guys, this is the hole right here that you gotta slip it in, and it needs to go all the way in like that. So actually our crank pulley was right in the right place. So that was interesting, guys. I thought it was in the right place, but it actually wasn't. And when I moved the flywheel, I could see the flywheel moving when I moved it with the breaker bar. But now you see it's locked in the right place. So that's kind of where you need to be in, and it helps to take that little rubber plug out. Sometimes you can get like a little better view of it. But yeah, The little pin has to slide all the way in just to the right spot on the flywheel. When it's in the right place, you will know, because the flywheel will not turn at that point. Incidentally, guys, here is one of those connectors that, like I was saying, was going down the front of the engine. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of here. Like I said, you don't need to do this, but there is a reason why I'm doing this. I will explain later. Now, trying to get a view of the other connector. It is right there. You guys see that connector right up there? That's actually connecting to the starter solenoid. Well, the starter's like back here, but it has its own lead that's coming out. And that's where the connector is. Now, I was already able to unplug it, and the way I did that, best way I can show you this. I don't know what you can see, but what I did was I reached up over top of it, right here. I believe is what I did. I reached up over top of it. I was able to get my fingers around it and just sort of push it forward. So now I got it. Now the only problem left is there's a little frickin' zip tie tying these two wires onto the starter power cable, the main power cable, which is right up here, running down the front of the engine, going over to the alternator. So, man, I got to get like a little something in there, a little knife or something to cut that zip tie. So that zip tie is actually right up in here, in the back here. And maybe I can slip these in. Yeah, I wish I could film this while I did it, but I really can't. Well, I was able to do it. Got the, I just used like a utility knife. It was long enough. And there's that connector. And there's this connector. Cool, so those are loose. Yay. Yeah, so those are these two wires here. Just has to be difficult. Yeah, so those were these two wires right here. Now, this guy's free to just sort of pivot up and out of the way, which is what I wanted. Incidentally, the reason why I want to do that is because I believe I need to service the valley pan underneath the intake manifold. Those tend to leak on these, and they'll start to leak coolant, and you'll see coolant leaking out the back. And I did see that on this vehicle, so I'm assuming that's what it is because of age and all that, and I'm just going to do it. That'll be its own little separate video sort of in between the series here. So that's why I wanted to get that up and out of there, but again, not absolutely necessary. All right, now we should be able to see that the OT mark is a little more lined up with the mark on the timing cover there, which makes sense. And as you can see, the cams look a little bit more aligned with one another. This one is always going to be turned a little bit because that's the VANOS one. So when we're going to lock the cams with the tools from the timing kit, you're going to have to move this one a little bit in order to get it on. All right, I want to take this valve out of here, and the tube actually runs up underneath and runs over to the side of the intake manifold. So a little silicone spray, a little pick action. This one's never been off, so here you'll see it. See it? Just kind of slipping it, getting it loose there. Just like that. It should be clipped into this little guy here. Okay. And then there is a little thing you push over here. Push on it is the operative word. There we go. Okay, get that right out of there. To get the crank pulley bolt loose, you got to get the end of your jack handle, slip it over your breaker bar, and you're gonna pull. Let me get you a wide view of this. I did put this thing back on with the Ugga Dugga gun, and I'm hoping that, you know, it's at least a little bit difficult to get off, so that way you can see kind of what it was like. All I did really was pull, and let me see if I can get, yeah. The car's up in the air. It's kind of hard to lean over and get it. It was just slightly more difficult than that the first time, but that's kind of basically how it went. Not too difficult, but you do need the handle of your jack stand, and you do need a breaker bar that it will fit over. Otherwise, you need to go get a bigger cheater pipe at like Home Depot or whatever. But yeah, now we are loose. And the Craftsman breaker bar has never let me down. Unlike some other brands that shall remain nameless. Harbor Freight. So this guy should just spin off. I think it's got a million threads. Okay, one big giant crank bolt. You are not getting that crank pulley out without taking off this pulley. And this should slip right out because it's a slip fit. Hopefully it's not seized on like the one that Car Ninja had to do a while back. 5mm Allens. I believe there's another one right here. Just a bracket holding on the EGR tube, part of the EGR tube. Okay, cam sensors, and there should be a green O-ring that you got to take out. The other bolts for the EGR tube, one's right here on the left side. That one's easy to see and get a shot of. The one on this side, not so much, but it is right here, right above it. You see it right there. And then you can just pull this tube right out. And of course, every time you'll forget to undo this. Well, little squeeze guy. Well, we're almost there, guys. All we have to do is remove the water pump, remove the alternator, then remove the oil dipstick tube, then remove the two upper timing covers and the lower timing cover. Pretty simple, actually. Let's do the water pump first. Ooh, who made that tidy? So two of these bolts are going to be long and the other one's short, and you'll be able to figure out what goes to where very easily. I'll show you once we're off. I believe this one here and the one up here are the long ones. This guy don't want to cooperate. See, long bolt here and long bolt here. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, there we go. So, you know, you'll have to pull and pry. You might find it useful to stick your pry bar right here and push this way. That's how I got it off the first time. Of course, this time it's just fallen off. Okay, and like I was saying, put the bolts where they go. And you know which ones the long ones are because they have these two locating dowel pins on them, right here and here. Pretty easy. Next, the alternator. This is a 17mm bolt here. Okay, this cable, it'll kind of fight you to get it off. This cable is actually, should be clipped to the side of the case down here, so you might kind of struggle to get that off, but it's doable. In my particular case, I've unclipped my cable just to make it easier. Now it's just a bunch of 10s all the way around. This one will sneak in like this. This one with the bracket, top one. This one here, and this one here. Be prepared with your coolant drain bucket underneath this thing when you pop it loose. And it's not hard to pop loose. You can pry it in between right here and here, I believe. There's a little wrench spot right there. So you can, or a little pry bar spot, screwdriver spot, and you should be able to get it out. And as I recall, it was a little awkward. And I think you guys might be where I need to be. There we go. A heavy sucker. Next up, VANOS solenoid seals. 2 10s, top and bottom. Take this bolt for the oil dipstick tube. Get that off at the same time. Drop it on the floor. Because it's helpful if this is over here. It's just kind of easier to pry. And then you just kind of pry like this. And the seal should start coming. And then we can grab it the rest of the way. There we go. There. You know, I realized that the German Auto Solutions kit does not come with this special socket. So you're kind of SOL on that one. You got to buy it separately, which kind of sucks. Increases the cost of their kit if you were going with only their kit. These should be the same either side. Okay, oil dipstick tube. This is the fun part. Kind of, sort of, not really. This is in the way of this, the lower timing cover coming off. So you definitely have to get it moving out a little bit. And as I recall, well, I've had it all the way out, and it is possible to get it all the way out. And it was very difficult to get back in as well. I don't really remember the secret. I just kind of went this way and that way, and it's kind of easier from underneath as well. So I'm probably gonna jump down there in a second, or oh no, okay, I just got it from above. Hopefully I can just do the reverse of that to get this thing back in, but you definitely have to do it from below. 3 more things, guys. Let's do this one. There's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 6 bolts on either side, and then 1, 2, and 3 right here. Now, the middle bolt is going to be an all thread, and the lower bolt is not going to be on this side, so that's kind of how it is. The middle one is shorter. Again, you can see why it's shorter, because this distance is shorter than this distance, or this distance. See how that works? This one, I'm going to need a gear wrench. All right, before we actually get the last bolt out, in fact, before you do any of these bolts, I forgot, there is the chain tensioner down below, which we definitely want to get out because it's in the side of this case. And the case won't come off without that tensioner coming off. Now that tensioner, if I remember correctly, is a 19. Okay, that's on off. So you just slip in down here. So you guys can basically see where I am. Let me move this out of the way without breaking it, I hope. Okay, so we're right there. And let's go ahead and crack it. Yeah, just like that. Now let's see if I can get it out with my fingers. It's very awkward. Oh yeah, it's coming out the, it's basically a cap with the tensioner inside of it. It's like a 2-piece. So when you take this off, the tensioner is gonna slide out and it might fall. So that's what the cap looks like. And there should be a washer, which I think maybe got stuck in there. So let's get the actual tensioner assembly out. Okay, I feel the washer too. Let me take off the washer first so you can see what it looks like. You know what to expect. It's one of these, aluminum. So put that with the cap and then the tensioner fell out. It doesn't matter, your new one will come with a new washer. And that's what that looks like. All right, now we can get this final bolt out of here. Guess I left that a little loose. All right, there we go. You won't be able to get it out because the AC hose is actually in the way. So you just take it out with the thing. Now you see how this is loose, obviously, because I broke it free before. But the way I did that, right here, this is what you pry against. This nut and the camshaft, that's solid. And you just go poop and pop it out. Easy as that. Okay. Watch out for that bolt right there. And that's it. All right. Let's get these out. Guy wants to come out. You got to take this bracket off because it's hiding the other bolt, which is back here. Okay, he just wants to come out. Him too. This guy might as well come too. Okay, another one here. And then this one is going to be right about there. Let's get those two. The last one, you sneak around the back here and you get it. And the way I can see where it is let me show you this before I do this. You see this right here is a little hump. That's where the bolt actually goes. And there's another one here, right here. And that's how I could kind of see where the other one was as well, the middle one. So sneak around, see where it is. And there we go. The same thing as before, right here, poop, and it's out. Now there should be, this hard line should be clipped in right there. Just pull it out. And that's it. That's it for that. So this lower case is going to have a lot of bolts, a couple of 13s, 3 13s, and the rest are going to be 10s. We're going to take out the 13s first, which are going to be here. Here, let's do this. That is kind of an advanced trick with one of these. You know, you get the thing spinning and then stab it on. Not recommended for beginners. Now, you also want to take, can we see this? Yeah, you guys can see it. You also want to take these 2 bolts for the power steering off. I will explain why later. Basically, the power steering pump is going to come with this case. There's another bolt holding it on from behind that you're going to need to get. Might as well take these 2 out now. So that's the 2 along the bottom, and there's another one over here, another 13. It's a bad habit to get into that little trick that I showed you before, so I don't try to do it all the time. Oh, and the upper bolt is longer up here, but you don't need to worry about lengths. I'm going to show you, if you lose track of them, I'm going to show you how to figure out what goes where. Another little trick. Make sure to keep one of these long extending magnets on hand so you don't have to bend down to get the bolts you drop. All right, now we can get all the 10s, and there are more than you think. There's one hiding underneath this tube here. And of course, one hiding right here. Let's collect these. I love my magnets. Woo! Here and here. Oh, I missed one. Of course I did. There's one right here. Little sucker was hiding. That's it for the top bolts. There are 6 more on the bottom. We're looking at 2 of them right here, obviously. There are another two right back in here where you can, I'll reposition the camera, but basically on either side, sort of right in here, right in right here, and then on the other side. So we're just going to do these two first, and then we'll get to the other ones. Power steering hose kind of in the way. Okay, this one's right here. I go. There we go. I'm sorry to say that the last two are just not possible to get you a visual on. That got it. Okay. Look at that. That bolt definitely won't even come out all the way. So when you put this cover back on, it's going to need to be under there. All right, as far as this one goes, it's probably like easy on a 5 series or a 7 series or something because it's a different bracket. E53 probably more difficult. Okay. Yeah, there we go. At least I think. Yeah, this has to be loose, man. Come on. Yeah, it's loose. Okay. There we go. Stupid thing, man. Just gives you trouble. All right, so now the power steering pump is coming along with the case, and the bolt in the back. Hopefully I can show it to you. It's right there. I sort of left it a little loose, but this is the nut that you'll just have to reach back here and unscrew, and then it can come off. This case can come loose from the power steering pump, so just pull the power steering pump forward. Let's caught it a little bit. There. Now this guy comes out. Okay guys, remember how I mentioned that you can figure out what bolt goes where afterwards? Well, check it out. These bolts are like all different lengths. I think there's 4 different kinds. You just kind of stick them in to the holes and you can figure out, well, this one obviously doesn't go there because it doesn't stick out the end, but yeah, maybe it'll go there. And they look like they stick out about as far as one another. And you just kind of, you do that all around. Like this one's a little shorter, that's not going to go through. Obviously it's not the one for there or the one for there, and you just kind of keep doing that all the way around. And once you get them all even, you know, then you know what goes where. Here's what it looks like with every bolt in its place. You just kind of see these two here are the 2 water pump bolts, those 2 long ones. So that's what it should look like when you've got all your bolts back in place. Of course, except for the 6 on the bottom. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice a little thingy down here that I dropped in. That's just a little piece of plastic from, I believe that broke off the oil dipstick tube. I think I put this thing back together in too much of a hurry. So remember how I was mentioning that coolant goes into this sucker? Now I see how it circulates through. There's a hole in the bottom there that I just didn't spy the first time, and that hole goes up and comes out right there into where the water pump is, and that's how it circulates the coolant. Pretty clever. So that does it for part 1, guys. In part 2, we are going to deal with removing the old timing components and installing the new ones and timing the engine. I'm going to use the China kit, I think, at first to do the timing, and then I'll remove it. I will spin the engine over, and then I will install the German Auto Solutions kit, and if it just falls right in without any adjustments needed, it was not necessary to buy that kit. So stay tuned to find out if that is the case. I am the 50s Kid. Thanks a lot for watching.